Hi, I'm Brianna Kelly here with Principal Smith talking about the school performance profile. Thanks for being with us today.
You're welcome.
So I hear that the school performance profiles have come out this week. How did Norristown do?
Well, the school performance profile did come out this week. We actually, at the high school, we asked for a waiver because the information released by the state was incomplete and inaccurate. But there was a calculation that we were able to see, and I can tell you that for the first time since they've been calculating AYP, Norristown Area High School is not a failing school. Our grade was in the 60s, and there's great hope that when they recalculate and fix some of the errors, that we're going to be close to a 70.
Oh, that's great. Why are these scores so good this year?
Well, I think it's just been, it's been a lot of hard work on everybody's part. I think we've been very intentional about preparing for these next generation assessments. I think our teachers have been working tirelessly to sort of, change what's going on in their classrooms. A lot of credit goes to the students and their hard work. And it's just, it's just overall sort of changing the experiences here educationally.
What do some of these scores represent?
Well, the scores represent, the school performance profile is a composite of lots of different information. The school performance profile has a lot to do with the keystone results, which are the three tests in algebra, literature, and biology. They also have to do with closing the achievement gap, so how well have you improved? And there's something called PVOS, and they look at the PVOS data and try to look at how much you're closing the gap between students and how well they should be performing and how well they are performing.
And what are our strongest or weakest subjects that we?
Well, our strongest subject was literature. We did very well with literature, and our weakest subject was biology. And the biology test was all new, and our biology teachers were really focusing on more of test-taking strategies and content. And we've sort of made a real shift now we have a literacy program, and we're focusing on writing, and it's called the ABCD writing strategy. And that strategy is really to attack these constructed response type questions, and it really breaks down the question so students really know what the question's actually asking, so it gives them sort of like a way to attack the problem or the question.
Do you guys have any ideas to help boost our biology grades?
We do. We've been pouring through the data once it came in at the end of the summer. We looked at areas that we were weaker in general content like big bucket items. And our biology teachers have been adjusting their curriculum. We're currently making plans to remediate students that didn't score proficient or advanced, and we're going to be retesting for biology and literature in December and retesting for algebra in January.
And what do we learn from all this information?
Well, what we learned is we've learned a lot. We've learned that we still have some work to do. We've learned that we are showing definitely signs of improvement. Since I've been here, this is my third year, all of our test scores, all of the indicators of ways that you measure education have risen. Our graduation rate's up, our attendance rate's up, the number of students taking the SAT is up, the number of students taking AP tests are up. Everything's moving in an incredibly positive direction.
That's great. What would you say to the kids who took the Keystones?
Well, what I would say is that, I want them to try their best. I feel like many of them are prepared. And I think, one thing is I don't want them to give up. It's a long test, it's demanding. And one thing that we really try to work on is stamina. It's hard for, a 9th grader or a 10th grader to sit and struggle for 3 or 4 hours on an assessment when they've never had to do that before. We kind of talk about running a marathon. So you just don't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to run a marathon. I mean, it takes months and months of training and preparation. And that's sort of like a keystone. We have to be very intentional about how we're preparing our students.
That's great. How does this new grading system designed?
Well, this is it's a state federal law requirement, and many states have went to this sort of a grade scale for schools. And the grade scale is 90 to 100, 89 to 80, et cetera, and any school that would score below a 60 would be considered a failing school.
Is this how is it different from past years?
Well, past years the shift has been AYP, adequate yearly progress, and it was a measure of targets. So, for example, our last AYP score, we were considered a failing school. We were considered a failing school, but we did hit 28 out of our 30 targets. And in fact, when you really dig down into the data, we only missed achieving AYP by 3 students.
Okay.
So we were very close. And now School Performance Profile takes a deeper look at more data and puts more things into the equation.
Is this the first year that we've made AY pay?
This is, so AYP, the calculation of AYP and keeping track of how schools are performing started in 2003. And since 2003, Norristown Area High School has been considered a failing school. And so for the first time, we are off that list and we are not considered a failing school. You know, although there is still, like I said, a lot of work to do, we also have a lot to celebrate.
That's great. I know recently an article came out in the October 10th Times-Herald. What was that about?
Well, the October 10th Times-Herald basically reported what was released from the state, and in there it says that Norristown Area High School had some inconclusive, it didn't give our school performance profile grade, and it listed how it's calculated. And, I wish it would have told more of the story. It mentioned about Title I schools and how they're labeled. And in fact, we have a certain designation through Title I only because we were awarded a school improvement grant. We are over and above all the criteria to put us in certain categories for Title I, and the only reason that we were labeled the way that we were is because we accepted a $3 million school improvement grant 2 years ago. I hope that there's more to tell of that story as time goes on.
Of course. How can the public view our scores for what they really are?
Well, there is, if you go to the PDE website, they have a portal for everything having to do with school performance profile. And like I said, ours is still inconclusive because we asked for a recount of our data because it was incorrect, and they're going to re-release our score in January.
Oh, that's great. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, thanks for the time, and it's great to talk to you guys and bring some clarity to the situation.
Thank you for being here. I'm Brianna Kelly here talking with Principal Smith about school performance profile. Back to the Eagles Eye.